Hey, welcome once again. It's another Friday and we're here. How are you? I hope you've had an amazing week. You know what? Even if you didn't, it's okay. What's important is that in this moment, right here, you're alive, you're breathing, and you look forward to a better day. So that's okay too. So on the other hand, I have had an okay week. Nothing pretty much is happening because of Corona. So, I've been fortunate enough to be working from home. So it's been quiet for me. And I'm here this week. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been listening, sending me reviews, sending me input, asking questions, referring the podcast to other people they think should hear it. I am really grateful. It means a lot to me. And that you believe in me and you pass it on to someone else is a recommendation. You star, you review, you send me voice messages. I truly appreciate the encouragements, the support, the ideas, the suggestions on, how different aspects to talk about. I appreciate it. I love it. And I am so grateful that I have you guys listening. This week we're going to talk about something that I feel we talk about abuse, but we don't touch on. We're going to talk about the things that you should not say to someone who's going through abuse, who's either living with it or has just left an abusive situation. Have you ever been shocked by the admission of abuse? As they being the victims by one of your friends, or perhaps even witness them being bullied by their spouse, and you thought, no, this shouldn't be happening. But, we all know someone who is dealing with abuse, but we sometimes pretend it's just a problem that can be solved. And so, hang in there, everything is going to be okay, you are strong, and blah, all those things that we say. But nope. I think abuse is not a problem that we're looking to solve. Abuse, like I say, is a deliberate choice by the perpetrator to control, inflict pain on the victim for a perceived lack of disrespect, that they deserve punishment for misstepping, or just plain old meanness because they can get away with it. Who's going to hold me accountable? Certainly not you. So just because they can, they do it. So today, we're going to talk about it. When a victim opens up to you, or when you notice that they're in an abusive situation, don't do these things. Don't say things like, why did it take you so long to speak up or leave? No. Some people do not even know what a healthy relationship looks like, or what life, and that they don't understand that their life is threatened or they are in danger because they see it as a usual thing. Either they grew up with it, or the person that they've married to has been doing the same thing over the years and it's become a norm. So the cycle just goes on and on. I spoke about the cycle of abuse. I don't know if it was my last episode or the one before. You can check it out and understand it. No. That's a no, because usually the victim gives the abuser the chance to change. So don't ask them, why did it take you so long to speak up or to leave? You see, the abuse just doesn't start off as abuse. It's a series of patterns of events which lead the victim to draw the conclusion, either by speaking to someone else, by going out to find information for themselves, by buying books, by Googling, by listening to a podcast, by finding a page on Instagram or Facebook that speaks about abuse. So it just doesn't start. happens over a long period of time, and over the years trauma bonds have been formed. The trauma bonds are bonds which make a victim feel like it's okay or is a normal cycle of love, especially if they've been in a relationship like that in their homes as they grew up. I explained more of trauma bonds in one of the previous episodes. You can listen to that and find out what trauma bonds are. Bear in mind also that if you have not been a victim of domestic violence, it's difficult to understand the trauma. Victims go through so much. So instead of saying, why did it take you so long to leave or speak up, I would rather you say, you're safe now and out of the situation. What would you like me to help you with? Because at that material moment, victims are helpless. Understand that victims are helpless. Listen to them, and once you have a full understanding of the circumstances, let them know that you are there to help them to find help and to regain strength through this situation, or find help through others. It's not an easy road to walk during the abuse, getting the courage to even speak up and even to walk away from the situation, because what people don't understand is you cannot heal if you are still in that same environment. It won't work, because until the perpetrator understands that they are causing you a very huge amount of pain, and they take the effort to do the inner work which makes them the way they are, because you see, it's a character, it's who they are, it's an attitude, it's how they operate. So they don't know anything else. They will talk about, I've changed, I will change. Trust me, it's just another cycle that's going to go round and round and round, just like the cycle that you just left. So until the abuser understands the pain and the trauma that they've caused the victim and decides to do the work, and bear in mind, this do the work can take years if they are not willing to change. So let's make that clear, right? It's a complex situation. So when you ask them why they didn't leave, you are trivializing the whole situation to just taking your bag and just walking. It doesn't work like that, And so listen to them and help them to find help. There are two sides to a story. Don't say that. Don't say that either. No. Wrong. When you're not in a situation like this, especially when the abuse isn't physical, victims already struggle with guilt, with shame, with pain from the abuser. So making such a statement suggests that they did something to provoke the violence, and also suggests that they are lying, because then you have to hear the abuse. Of course, you can find out from the abuser what happened, but telling the victim that there are two sides to a story, already you've negated what they are telling you. Now bear in mind that abusers don't want to be found out. So their first instinct is to paint the victim black, lie, deny, distort events and narratives, and cause havoc, trying to make the victim look like they are the crazy ones and they are being, they are overreacting. That's the word. They are overreacting. So understand that that's how abusers operate. You will never get the truth from them. They will sit down coolly and calmly and say, you know what, you've said all this, so right now what's next? What do you want to do? I said I've apologized. Cut it short. Now are you coming back or not? At the end of the day, it's just basically about you accepting their apology, you not telling anyone about the events, you not forcing them to face the pain that they've caused. They don't want to face the pain that they've caused you. So they will not even admit to doing those things to you. So if you don't admit to hurting someone, how do you even apologize for it in a genuine manner? So the apology that they are giving you at that material moment is just so you can be quiet, and then everybody else will feel like they've apologized. So when you stand your ground, then you look like you're being the difficult one, right? So I mean, let's make that clear. Don't make them feel that the abuse was their fault or they did anything to. I mean, let's just say that there's even an issue and that the victim has done something. What could be worse in a relationship than adultery or cheating or stealing your partner's money or something of the sort? Isn't there a better way to handle the situation than to inflict pain and trauma on the person? I mean, where is the justification for being mean? I don't understand this. There should never be a justification for being mean to your partner, irrespective of anything that you think they've done to you. If you feel like you cannot handle them or stay with them in the same environment, let them go, right? But you treat them with disdain, sometimes even from perceived wrongdoing, because you want the wrongdoing to stick so bad that even when they cough, it's a crime. Even when they answer a phone, it's a crime. If someone says, "How are you?" it's a crime. If someone sees them and hugs them, it means they are sleeping around. All kinds of things, you know. So when they come to you and they tell you, don't tell them that, don't say things like there are two sides to a story. No, I totally disagree. I would rather you say, I know this is complicated. I'm sorry all this has happened. You didn't deserve any of this. That doesn't change my view of you, and I'm always here for you. That's a better approach until you speak to the abuser and you hear their side of the story as well. But to tell the victim that, it is wrong. Now, it's also wrong to tell them things like, it's time to stop dwelling on it and move on. My darling, grieving is a process and requires time and space. Pushing them to heal will cause them to pull away. Because you see, abuse doesn't just happen. It takes the grace of God for an abusive person to reveal themselves very early in the early stages of a relationship. It might take a while, sometimes years. I have a book of stories of abusive women who've suffered abuse, and one of the victim stories struck me. I mean, when I read it, I was, like we say, I was shook. She was in a marriage for 15 years. Her husband never raised his voice, never insulted her, never hit her, was calm. They were Christians. They would go to fellowship together for 15 years. One day, they are driving on a road and he gets lost, and she suggests that, why don't they ask something? The next thing she knows, she sees is his hand on her cheeks with a slap. And that was it. For the next 10 years, she had to endure abuse. So they had been married for 15 years, no sign. I cannot tell what triggered the man. I cannot tell why he did what he did, but it happened. So you get what I'm saying. So when you hear the story, some start as early as the first few months of marriage, but then prior to marriage, the courtship showed signs of abuse for both men and women. So it's difficult to say that, stop dwelling on it and move on, because a lot of things go into it. Trauma will change the victim. They are not the same. They would need therapy and professional help to get through the teary days, the headaches, the migraines, the why me days, the maybe I deserved it days, the maybe if I hadn't said anything, he wouldn't have insulted me, he wouldn't have hit me, the maybe I shouldn't have been friends with so and so, the maybe I shouldn't have spoken to my friend about this, the maybe I shouldn't have said hello to someone else, because every single time the triggers are different. The triggers are different. So you don't even know what's going to happen for a cycle to just explode and things escalate rather quickly. So that's, hard. They will go through the I'm not ready days, the I want to kill myself days. I mean, so many emotions, the depression, but they are feeling guilty, they are feeling ashamed. We're in a society where the success of a marriage, it depends on the woman. No matter how much pain the husband is inflicting on her, endure, pray. As for marriage, the woman is the maker of the, just go pray more. Another thing that we say, have you prayed enough? Have you prayed enough? My darling, by the time that they are even speaking to you, they would have prayed themselves sore, soaked their pillows in tears, asking God. But there are some things that need action. You pray and you take action. So when they come and they are speaking to you and you tell them that you've taken the God factor out, go back and pray more. They've been praying and they are enduring pain. Do you care about the fact that they are brokenhearted? The Bible asks us to be there for the brokenhearted, for the people who are being perpetrated with wickedness. For those people, abuse is a sin, and I feel sad when preachers don't call it out as a sin. The treachery involved, it is a sin. And it is a sin so much so that God told, the prophet told men in Malachi that because of the way you treat your wives, God is disgusted at you and has turned his face away from your prayers. I mean, can you imagine that God being disgusted so much at you because you are treacherous towards your wife, that he's turned his face? And he goes on to say, for I, the Lord your God, I hate divorce. Now, that phrase has been used as a loop over many victims to say, I hate divorce in isolation, without it being read in context. You know what? I'm going to treat abuse in the church soon, and I don't want to go too much into it, but it becomes an issue when you say that to her, pray. Bear in mind that problems are different qualitatively in terms of how we see it in marriage, because abuse is not yet another bad marriage situation. Well-intentioned as your advice from people will be to talk to God, to pray through it, go on a romantic getaway, it will not fix the problem. Trust me, it ain't gonna fix the problem. No, it's way beyond that point, So usually the pressure falls on the victim to accept the apology of the abuser and let it go. Meanwhile, the victim is broken. The victim is distressed, male or female. They are not in their right frame of mind. The abuse has changed them. Their whole mindset, outlook on life, outlook on marriage, outlook on relationships, outlook on who a partner should be, it has changed. But you're telling them, be the person that you were. Where are they going to start from? Where are they going to start from? We don't look at it holistically. We just say, you can work on it. Pray for him. It won't work. It will not work. And we make we leave the responsibility on the victim, who's already broken, who's already in pain, who's already traumatized, who's already depressed, who's perhaps suicidal, who can't even pray, who's always crying, who's staying strong because he doesn't want to see he or she doesn't want her children to see him or her broken. So they are holding on by a thin thread. But yet, the huge responsibility of salvaging the situation is left on their shoulders. Aren't you just dropping a boulder on them? Think about it. Aren't you? So, it makes the victim feel like, well, let me go back and not provoke him or her to anger. Let me not do any of the actions that will make him or her angry or explode. And it's a really difficult space to be in, you know. Another thing that you should not say: aren't you exaggerating or blowing this out of proportion? Are you sure they are capable of this? No, my darling, he or she isn't. Some situations may seem like a wonderful written novel out of this world, and so you would think that the victim is crazy, but no, it's a classic act of the abuser. Sometimes parents, family, friends, and even the church will take sides with the abuser because they say things like, he's such a gentleman, he's such a gentleman, why would he do that? Are you sure? How? You know, because the perpetrator will carefully trigger him or her, as in the victim, in front of them. And then because the victim is already trying to explain that, look, you do not see, can't you see this person for who they are? And so they explode, and then they will smirk and say, you see, I was just trying to explain the situation, and now they are overreacting, you know. Meanwhile, everybody will blame the victim and say, oh, but why are you overreacting? Don't you know that don't you know how to play, and all kinds of things. Now, you I mean, I'm laughing about this because it seems funny, but it happens. So in front of them, everybody will blame the victim. Meanwhile, the perpetrator will carefully lie about their role that has caused the victim to explode, and then the victim feels all alone because they don't even have a chance to defend themselves. You know, at that point, what else are they supposed to say? Right? And they feel bad because they've expressed their anger, they've expressed desperation. They are desperate. They will threaten to walk out or not even speak to the situation again, because what do you want them to say? You're already judge and jury. You're saying, oh, but he was just joking, or she was just joking. It doesn't work like that. They don't have a chance to defend themselves. So no, they aren't exaggerating. They aren't blowing it out of proportion. Listen and listen attentively, and you will see the pattern occur over and over and over again. Now, sometimes somebody will say, so leave him. Why don't you just walk out? The assumption that once you see any signs of abuse, you leave is a no-brainer. Well, you should never underestimate the mental and emotional locks for abuse sometimes. I mean, your abuser will downplay the situation as though it was your imagination. So when the victim comes to you to speak, remember, they are in pain, they're scared, they're feeling ashamed, they're confused, they're carrying guilt, and they are hoping to be told that they are not crazy. Because trust me, my darlings, trust me, sometimes you feel like you're losing your mind. Literally losing your mind, breaking down, anxiety, depression, and you're thinking, I mean, could this really be happening, or am I seeing things? Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe because I'm always in this situation, I feel like it's too much. Let me speak to someone about it. So listen, because you see, for someone to open their mouth and tell you that my spouse has done A, B, C, D to me, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to happen. It's just not an overnight thing. So it's important that you don't have them feeling pseudo abused by questioning their sanity, and to do and say the right things. So just be silent and listen to them. Please be silent and listen to them. Don't ask them things like, why did you even date or marry him or her? Who shows their worst forms during courtship? I'd like to know who's showing I mean, if they show you their worst form during courtship or during a certain period, you would leave them, right? That's just what it is. So most people will not show. You might see the traits, and even if you do not know what constitutes abuse, it becomes an I forgive him situation, I forgive her situation, and it becomes part of the cycle. Never assume that the victim might have behaved in a way or manner to attract abuse. If you intimate that the abuse is as a result of a weakness or bad character or a character flaw by their abuser, you and their abuser have become one. You're basically pseudo abusing the victim because you are questioning. And like I said, under no circumstances whatsoever should anyone go through abuse. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed as two consenting adults who've chosen each other to love, right? To trust, to go through life as one. What should you do? What should be the rational thing to do? You know what? This happened. This situation happened. This is how I felt about it. This is how it made me feel. This is what it did to me. And this is okay. The intent wasn't to make you feel this way. Maybe I didn't approach it better. Next time, I will handle it well. Are you comfortable with that? And if maybe something is happening and I'm going overboard, will you draw my attention so that we can work on it? That is what a relationship is. Growth. This goes for both male and female. Growth. Growth. Speaking to each other in a manner that will enhance the relationship and growing together into a place where understanding, sometimes the language, nothing needs to be said, but you get each other. So bear in mind that for some people also, it takes 7 attempts for a victim to finally leave for good, because it's a difficult situation if there are children involved, if that's all they've known, if they don't even know that it's abuse. It's so hard financially, the toll that it takes on the abuser, the victim to leave if they are not financially independent. It becomes a problem. So don't say things to them. And then don't say things like, if they come to you and they say, you know what, I'm going through abuse, I would like a safe place to stay for a few days or to get my head together so I can find some healing, keep my head down, and then find some grace, because I cannot be in that environment. I'm dying in that environment. And you tell them, well, I need you to get a divorce before I can help you. No, darling, don't say that. The victim is broken and hurting and will need help, and will need help. So putting conditions on the help, especially when financial impoverty, is one of the major reasons why victims go back. It's practically saying, I will not help you. That's just what it is. What if I help you and you guys get back together? Well, isn't that what you're hoping for, that it will work? I mean, unless you're saying that when I help you, there should not be a chance where you should go back together. I mean, let's make things clear. Relationships are complex, right? And the abuser, because of trauma bonds, some people will decide that, okay, let me give them another chance. It doesn't always work unless the abuser has decided, I'm willing to do the inner work and to make sure that I do the work that will make me a better person for my partner. So if at that material moment someone is broken and they are asking you for help and you're giving them conditions, where is the help? It's non-existent, So help without conditions. Help without conditions. If you cannot help, be there for them emotionally. I'm not able to help you at the moment. I'm not in a position to, but you know what? I'm glad you came to speak to me about this. I'm keeping you in mind. If I have a chance, I will help you. But to give them conditions is like telling them you either go back or whatever. How are they even going to fix that problem in the current situation in which they are? So do not put them off as well from telling their stories. By I've heard it all before. You keep on repeating them. Allow them to tell their stories, because what they are usually doing is trying to make sense of the whole situation. Trying to figure out, and the more you tell your story, the more you let it out and breathe, the better you become at accepting and understanding the reality. Sometimes telling your story to someone even sends a light bulb to your brain about a particular issue, because people are like, wow, are you kidding me? And you, in that moment, you're just telling the story because it happened. All right? So allow them to speak it out and let it go. Don't tell them things like, oh, but he hasn't hit you, so it's not a problem. No. Listen to my previous episodes for a deeper understanding on emotional and psychological abuse, and even those ones, the unseen scars, they can kill you fast. So please, they don't need to hit them. You don't need to see that they have a bandage on their hands. You don't need to see fractured bones before you understand that they are dying slowly. Since you are their partner, help him or her sort this problem out. Laugh out loud. Big laugh out loud on that position. For starters, the abuser doesn't see anything wrong with their behavior. The abuser is operating from a place of power and controlling the victim. How do you want the victim to be the one to fix the problem? Think the absurdity of the whole situation, of saying to the victim, help him. How? Help him how? Help him how? The abuser alone and no one else should be responsible for his or her decision to change. They have to decide that, my behavior is not normal, is unreasonable, is causing the people I claim to love or love pain. And so I need to do the inner work to heal and to prove to my dear ones that I am changing. Now, the narrative, however, is, oh, help him. If you are there, pray for him. Help him to change, pointing out the issues to them. Stay with him. Meanwhile, they've apologized. Why are you still holding on to it, letting it go? Instead of the abuser being called out for their terrible behavior and being told, you know what, you need to work on yourself. You need to do right by the person that you say you love. You need to do right by the kids that you have. You need to do right by your partner. And you need to do right by doing the inner work, doing the therapy, finding the healing, coming to a place of admission and understanding that it's cruel to treat someone like that. The burden now shifts onto the victim to rather do the work. How is that even possible? We are back to square one, basically, because the patterns are going to start again. Bear in mind that it's a character, it's an attitude, it's a mask, it's who and how they operate. They don't know anything else, right? So obviously, if the victim has left and you're asking them to come back without the abuser doing the inner work to change, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, they keep holding on to who they are. The explosion that is going to come when they don't know how to hold it in anymore might be fatal for the victim. And then what? Yeah, sorry? The onus and the responsibility of fixing themselves comes from the abuser and not the victim. They have to make a choice. And I keep saying that the victim knows and understands, and even a sigh, a question, the victim knows where the abuser is coming from. They know and understand the dynamics of power because they've lived it. So when the abuser has changed, the victim will know. No one else will know, but the victim will know. So someone being respectable on the outside or an upholder of the law doesn't stop them from being abusive. So do not say things like, oh, he looks so respectable. How can such a respectable person do? I mean, it just places doubts on the victim's pain and all of those things. Now is not the time to also list the jerks you've been with, to your friend and say, oh, it's not that this one is very small. Do you know what so and so did to me? It's not a competition of who has been with the worst abuser. Just give them a listening ear. I mean, things like, I knew it. I told you I didn't like him. Now isn't the time for it. Now the victim knows it too. So what are you, reinforcing? Nothing new that they didn't, right? Bear in mind that they are looking at them through the lenses of love. You are looking at them through the lenses of, are they good for my friend? Right? So at the time where they realize that they are not good enough for them and they come to you, what they need is your support, not an I told you so. All right? Don't let this define you. It's what you tell people. Stop dwelling on it. They would need to heal. Simple things such as, how are you? Are you okay? Would you like some ice cream? Would you want to go watch a movie? Things that will take their minds off it. Activities that will take their mind off the situation is what you should be doing with them. Not telling them to take their mind off is when you are not offering a gap. Do you understand what I'm saying? Bear in mind, they might even go with you to go and watch the movie or have an ice cream or whatever, and they will come and they cannot sleep. Sleep deprivation sets in and they are anxious and they cry, and you ask them the following, how are you? And they'll say they are fine, because that's what they know how to say and wear their mask. You get what I'm saying? Because it's taken a lot of years not to let the pain show. So they are adept at looking all cool and collected but breaking down inside. So these are some of the things. Be there for them constantly. Help them to get over it, but do not tell them things like, don't let this define you. And the worst, I would never let this happen to me. If I were you, I'd be out of the door the minute it happened. It's a terrible thing to say if you've never been in such a situation, by saying that the implication is that the victim let it happen. No one lets abuse happen to them. The victims are weak or they have a deficiency, hence the reason for the abuse. That they should have known abuse was in the horizon. Abuse sneaks up on you, literally. To understand how the cycle of abuse work and the patterns, you can check my episode, I think it's episode 5, The Cycle of Abuse, the one with that title, and listen to how it happens. Look, initial incidents can be a year apart, 8 months. One day you're having an argument and then they get angry, they shove you, they break your phone, or they hit the wall, or they threaten to hit you, and you're shocked and you're like, how? What do you mean you will hit me, or you will smash my phone, or whatever? And then you speak up and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just so angry, it will never happen again. And then you're okay, you apologize, you've made up, life goes on. 8 months down the line, they get angry again. Then something happens and they apologize. 3 months down the line, something happens. Now every 3 months something happens. Then it shifts into monthly. Then it shifts into weekly. Then it shifts into every 3 days. Then it shifts into daily. That's when you realize that this is not normal. Now, mind you, the abuse has been happening when the intervals were yearly, but because they were not so close together, the victim doesn't even realize that a pattern is developing. So by the time that they trace the pattern back, they realize that, oh, this is as far back as it goes. Now, the abuser has become dependent on the victim's forgiveness because they expect it, right? They expect that the victim will forgive them because that's what the cycle has been like. And the victim too now finds it difficult to even say, this is what I've been enduring, because they are now realizing what is happening and they are dealing with the guilt, with the shame, with the pain, you know. So understand the cycle of abuse before you make certain comments. Domestic abuse is all around us. Never assume it cannot happen to you. It is so gradual and creeps up on you that sometimes you do not know it is happening till you get educated. So the next time that you are about to say something insensitive with regard to abuse, think about the victim. It could be your best friend, your sibling, your co-worker, the friend who just walked in with your guest, you know, and anyone around you, someone in the salon that you are sitting, someone you're sitting in a meeting with, could be going through something. So before you open your mouth, please think about the words that you are saying. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for pressing play. And thank you for having this conversation with me. My name is Ama Emefa Ajiman. I'm also known as Doris. Ama, Emefa, Tinker, Tinkerbell, Emmy, whichever one you call me. I love you. And this has been Conversations with Ama. The next time you are tempted to say something you shouldn't when it comes to domestic abuse, remember, shh, don't say that.